Thank you very much. I'd like to thank Superintendent Sally, Principal Dubrovic, and Nikki Dizon, Director of the Communications Department, for reaching out to me and inviting me here to honor my dad. My dad was a well-known, world-class scientist. He published 539 papers on his research in prestigious scientific journals. He won 44 awards and honors, and this would be the 45th. I know he would be especially honored to be here today and receive this award, because this one comes from his home, from his birthplace, and from the school that inspired him to go on and do great things. I don't know if there's a slide. Is there a slide from the AV person? There it is. If you look at the right-hand side, there we go. I estimate from the cars in the picture, I don't know when this was taken, but I'm estimating late 1930s, early 1940s. My dad got his start here at Conney's Pharmacy. Back in the day, Conney's Pharmacy had an ice cream parlor and a luncheonette. My dad used to dish ice cream, make ice cream sodas and root beer floats for kids and adults. He said the pay wasn't great, but the benefits were excellent because he got to sample the product. I asked him, what type of flavors did you have back in those days? He said, all the flavors anyone could ever want, vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. I said, outstanding. So it was here at Conney's Pharmacy that my dad developed his love for pharmacy, which led to pharmacology and cancer research, and ultimately the realization that it was better to prevent cancer than to cure it, and that diet and exercise had a significant influence toward realizing this goal. And it was here that he developed his love for ice cream. I knew my dad was a scientist at a young age, but I don't think I really realized he was an important person until something happened in 5th grade that got my attention. In 5th grade, I had a really mean science teacher. And one day he was handing back an exam that was essentially lab notes. It was a lab exam in which we took notes. He put my notes on my desk just for a second, then he snatched it back quickly, and he tore it to pieces in front of the class. And he said, "These notes are messy. They're going to have to be redone." I think I wanted to cry, but I held it in, and I got home and I told my dad about it. My dad said, "Don't worry, I'll fix this up." 2 days later, we had science class again, and the first thing that science teacher did was to apologize to me in front of the class. He said a famous scientist, Dr. Allan Conney, had called him the day before and had corrected him, and that he was wrong, and he shouldn't have torn up my lab notes, and he said he was sorry. I thought, wow, what happened here? So I got home and I asked my dad. I said, "What did you say to him?" He said, "Well, I called him up, I introduced myself, and I told him in my lab all notes are kept in a hardbound notebook with numbered pages. And it doesn't matter if the notes are messy, and it doesn't matter if they're neat, and it doesn't matter if they're right, and it doesn't matter if they're wrong. Lab notes are never destroyed. They're scientific data, and they're meant to be preserved. They're a permanent record, and all scientists know this." I said, "Wow, you said that?" He said, "Yep." I said, "That's great." My dad was elected to the National Academy of Sciences in 1982 and published and was a reviewer for many scientific journals. Some of them were Carcinogenesis, Cancer Prevention, Journal of Investigative Dermatology, Toxicology, Journal of Pharmacology and Experimental Therapeutics, Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, Journal of Endocrinology, Cancer Research, Pharmacological Toxicology, New England Journal of Medicine, Molecular Pharmacology, Biochemical Pharmacology, Science, Nature, Journal of Biological Chemistry, Anesthesiology, Journal of Oncology, and many other journals, 539 publications. So that being said, one day when I was visiting, many years later, and I saw a newspaper article on the dining room table, And the headlines of the paper said, "Science proves that ice cream is good for you." And I said, "What is this?" And I looked a little closer, and my dad was writing a paper in the other room, as he usually was. And I walked in there and I said, "What is this newspaper on the dining room table?" He said, "It's a newspaper article that says, 'Science proves that ice cream is good for you.'" I said, "Yeah, Dad, but this is the National Enquirer." "You don't read the National Enquirer. I've never even seen it in this house." And he kept on writing, and he just said, "It's right there in the paper." I said, "All right." So the backstory is someone very close to my dad, who knew him very well, sent this to him as a joke, and he was all too happy to play along. My dad was one of the original scientists that did the studies on green tea and cancer, and found that green tea was a strong inhibitor of carcinogenesis and tumor formation. There wasn't a lot of media attention to other teas, but you should also be aware that black tea, oolong tea, the Chinese teas that people also drink, also have strong anti-cancer properties, and this was also part of his research. There wasn't so much attention in the media about that, but by now everyone's heard about green tea. That's sort of old news. Later on, his attention turned to coffee, and he found that coffee had even stronger anti-cancer effects. In fact, he found that caffeine alone was a strong inhibitor of tumor formation, and when combined with coffee, there was a synergistic effect that made the anti-cancer properties of coffee even stronger. In fact, since then, epidemiological studies, large-scale human population studies have shown that coffee drinkers actually enjoy greater longevity. At a memorial service at Rutgers a month after my dad passed away, there was a number of very prominent speakers. One of them was the director of the Cancer Institute of New Jersey, who was a friend and colleague of my dad and had collaborated on a lot of the research with him. He said since he had seen my dad's research on coffee, he no longer felt guilty drinking 5, 6, or sometimes 7 cups of coffee a day. He actually said that. I have that on recording. I don't know that I'd recommend you try that at home, unless that's part of your regular routine already. My dad was a big believer in moderation in everything, so if it's coffee you like, that's fine to have a few cups a day, and so far many prominent researchers say it's good for you. And as far as ice cream is concerned, I think if my dad were here today, he would say sometimes happiness outweighs science. Thank you very much.